What happens in the moment after the final breath? Does the self, the intricate tapestry of memory and sensation, simply unravel into silence? Or does it cross a threshold into a landscape beyond the limits of our ordinary perception? This is the most profound mystery we will ever face, and for centuries, one text has offered a map for this ultimate journey. Not a map of external geography, but of the inner cosmos of the mind itself. It is known as the Bardo Thodol, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. But to call it a book about death is to misunderstand it completely. It is, in truth, a guide for the living, a mirror held up to the nature of our own consciousness, revealing that death is not an end, but a transition, a series of states where the very fabric of reality is revealed to be what we have always projected it to be. So, let us embark on a journey into this mystery. Let us explore this ancient guide not with fear, but with a quiet curiosity, to see what it might reveal about the art of living and the nature of the mind that experiences it all. The Bardo Thodol emerged from the vision of a legendary figure, Padmasambhava. Born in India in the 8th century, he was not merely a monk, but a mystic of immense power, a yogi who mastered the deepest esoteric teachings. He is revered in Tibet as Guru Rinpoche, the precious master, for it was he who carried the flame of Buddhism across the Himalayas. Tibet at that time was a land of fierce and ancient spirits, of shamanic traditions and animist beliefs known as bone. The air itself was thick with otherworldly presence. When Padmasambhava arrived, he did not seek to destroy these forces. Instead, with his profound knowledge of tantric ritual, he engaged them, tamed them, and integrated them. He understood that the divine, in all its forms, is a reflection of the mind's own capacities. He built the first Buddhist monastery in Tibet, Samye, and there he began to transmit teachings that wove together the indigenous wisdom of the land with the profound Buddhist understanding of reality, of samsara, the cycle of existence. At the heart of his mission was a radical and compassionate insight. He saw that the moment of death is not a termination of awareness, but a unique and powerful opportunity. In death, the mind is freed from the dense filter of the physical body. It becomes lucid, expansive, and incredibly receptive. It stands at the precipice of true understanding, of what is called liberation. But he also knew that most beings, unprepared and untrained, would meet this clarity with fear. They would cling to the familiar illusions of a separate self, and in doing so, turn away from the radiant truth. And so, out of profound compassion, he composed the Bardo Thodol, a guide to be read to the dying or studied by the living to prepare the mind for the journey ahead. It is a manual for navigating the bardos, the in-between states that follow the last breath. His goal was simple and yet infinitely profound: to ease suffering and to offer a final chance for enlightenment, even as everything we think we are begins to dissolve. The Bardo Thodol describes 3 primary states, or bardos, that consciousness traverses after death. They are not places we go, but states of being we experience. They are, in essence, a profound unfolding of the mind. The first is the Chakai Bardo, the Bardo of the moment of death. This is the initial transition. The physical body, that vessel we have known our entire lives, begins its final dissolution. Sensations fade, the world recedes. Consciousness,
no longer anchored to form, becomes untethered. It is a great unlearning of the physical. And in the wake of this dissolution, something immense appears. The Bardo Thodol describes it as the primordial clear light, a dazzling, pure, and boundless radiance. This is not a light outside of you. It is the fundamental nature of your own awareness unveiled, a state of pure, non-dual consciousness before the divisions of self and other, before fear, before attachment. Some might call it the higher self, the source, the ground of all being.
For the prepared practitioner, this is the moment of ultimate opportunity. If you can recognize this brilliant clarity as your own true nature, as the very essence of your mind, you attain instant liberation. You merge with it, and the cycle of birth and death is transcended. There is no need for any further journey. This recognition is not an intellectual understanding. It is a direct, total experience, like a wave realizing it is the ocean. All conditioning, all karma, all personal identity dissolves into this infinite, peaceful expanse. But for the unprepared, the sheer intensity of this light is overwhelming. The mind, accustomed to the dimmer light of a separate self, interprets this radiance as a threat. Out of habit, out of fear, it turns away. It retreats from the unity, and in doing so, forfeits this chance for freedom. And so, the journey continues into the next, more complex state of mind. This leads us to the second stage, the Chanyad Bardo, the Bardo of visions. As the great psychologist Carl Jung once observed, the gods and demons of mythology are powerful projections of the unconscious, inescapable until we understand them as parts of ourselves. The Chanyad Bardo is the ultimate theater for this revelation. Here, the soul, the stream of consciousness, finds itself in a subtle body, within a dimension where the rules of solid reality no longer apply. And in this space, the mind begins to project its entire contents. Everything that has been repressed, desired, feared, or loved throughout a lifetime and across lifetimes now emerges, taking on vivid, tangible form. The visions of the Chanyad Bardo manifest in two distinct waves. First, the peaceful visions. You are greeted by radiant, serene figures, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, deities of light. They are the embodiments of the enlightened qualities you yourself have cultivated: compassion, wisdom, patience. They emanate a profound and silent peace. Yet, for a mind still clinging to its individuality, even this benevolence can be terrifying. The light may be too pure, the silence too vast. If the soul in its confusion fails to recognize these visions as aspects of its own enlightened nature, it will retreat once more. Then the second wave emerges, the wrathful visions. If the peaceful essence is not embraced, the mind confronts its own shadow. These are the wrathful deities, figures of terrifying appearance, roaring with sound, surrounded by fire and darkness. They represent the untamed energies of the psyche, raw anger, primal fear, repressed desire, and deep-seated attachment. It is crucial to understand These are not external demons sent to punish you. They are, just like the peaceful deities, manifestations of your own mind. They are the parts of you that you have denied, fought, or hidden from yourself, now appearing with terrifying intensity. They are, in their own fierce way, calling for integration. The Chonyad Bardo is often compared to dreaming, but it is a dream of shocking clarity and power. Freed from the body, the mind experiences its own energies without filter. Every thought, every emotional imprint is amplified. This state is not a punishment, but a profound opportunity. Each vision, whether peaceful or wrathful, is a mirror showing you an aspect of yourself that you must either integrate or transcend.
The key to liberation here is remembrance. The Bardo Thodal instructs the soul to recall the nature of these appearances, to see that they are empty of inherent reality. They are like images in a mirror, vivid but insubstantial. They are projections, and you are the projector. The guide advises focusing on the primordial clear light, the steady radiance that underlies all these changing visions. It is the sun behind the passing clouds. If you can recognize that even these intense apparitions are made of the same luminous awareness as the clear light itself, they lose their power to frighten or seduce you. You see through them, and in that seeing, you are free. But fear and attachment are powerful anchors. The wrathful visions can provoke a deep instinctive terror, creating a sense of separation. Conversely, the soul may become attached to the beauty of the peaceful visions, longing to stay in their serene presence. Both reactions, aversion and attraction, bind you to the dream. They reinforce the illusion of a self that is experiencing something other, and thus keep you cycling in the realms of samsara. To overcome this, the mind must recall the teaching of shunyata, emptiness. It is the understanding that all phenomena, including these Bardo visions, lack a permanent independent self. They arise from the mind, dwell in the mind, and dissolve back into the mind. The soul that can observe these dramatic displays with detachment, understanding them as temporary expressions of its own nature, can navigate this Bardo without being ensnared. It is a test of awareness, distinguishing those who are ready to awaken from those who need further journeys to learn.
For those who do not recognize the true nature of reality in the Chonyad Bardo, the journey culminates in the third and final stage, the Sidpa Bardo, the Bardo of rebirth. This is the stage of becoming. The soul, having faced the pure potential of the clear light and the psychic projections of its own mind, now feels a powerful, compelling urge to return to a new form. The energy of all past actions, thoughts, and intentions, what we call karma, now coalesces into a magnetic force, drawing the soul toward its next existence. It is as if the entire journey has been leading to this point of choice, a choice that is not made with conscious deliberation, but one that is driven by the deepest, most instinctual currents of the psyche. In the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness experiences visions associated with the process of rebirth. Often, these are images of couples in union, symbolic of the creation of new life. The soul is drawn toward these visions, not by random chance,
but by its own karmic inclinations. The accumulated tendencies of a lifetime, a reservoir of fear, a well of desire, a current of generosity, act like subtle gravitational pulls, guiding the soul toward the circumstances and the body that best mirror its inner state.
If a soul carries a heavy burden of anger, it may be drawn to a life where it will confront and, hopefully, learn to transform that anger. If it is dominated by attachment, it may seek a form where its desires are amplified. The next body becomes a perfect reflection of what the mind needs to experience for its continued evolution. The Bardo Todal offers crucial advice for this final crossroads. It tells the soul to maintain a state of lucid detachment. Upon seeing the visions of potential parents, it should not be driven by impulse or fear. It should choose wisely, or, better yet, recognize the entire display as yet another manifestation of mind. For the prepared practitioner, the Sidpa Bardo offers one last fleeting chance for transcendence. There remains the possibility of not choosing a new body, of not being reborn. By seeing these final visions as empty and illusory, the soul can, even now, turn its awareness inward, merge with the clear light, and achieve liberation.
But for most, the urge to be, to exist in a tangible form, is irresistible. It is like a psychic storm, a powerful wind that carries the soul toward a new birth. The choice of a new body is a deep, instinctual call. The next life is a mirror of what the soul's mind most profoundly needs to resolve or understand. This process reflects the core Buddhist belief that each rebirth is an opportunity for spiritual growth. The body and life we enter are not punishments, but perfect classrooms for our unfinished learning. However, without awareness, this opportunity is often missed. Beings are reborn into adverse conditions where old patterns of suffering are simply repeated. The cycle continues. According to the Bardo Thodal, our preparation for this final stage begins not at death, but right now, in this life. By contemplating our desires and fears, by observing the impulses that shape our actions, we become familiar with the very forces that will guide us in the Bardo. Spiritual practices like meditation are not mere relaxation techniques, they are training grounds for death. They strengthen our capacity for detachment, helping the mind to remain steady and clear even when faced with the most intense psychic dramas. Thus, the Sidpa Bardo reveals a simple, profound truth. Life and death are a continuous, interconnected cycle. The process of rebirth is nothing more than a continuous expression of our own choices, our attachments, and our deepest perceptions. The Bardo Thodal, then, is far more than a religious text. It is a tool for self-knowledge, a map of the mind's own potential. It teaches us that death is the great full stop to one chapter of the human story, but it is also a portal to new beginnings. And in doing so, it forces a vital question upon us, one that echoes back from the moment of death into the heart of our present lives. If the end of life is a profound mirror of how we have lived, then how are we living now? Are we cultivating awareness or feeding distraction? Are we strengthening our attachments or learning the graceful art of letting go? Are we building a fixed, solid identity, or are we discovering the fluid, luminous, and empty nature of our own minds. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, in the end, is an invitation to live with such clarity and compassion that when the final moment comes, we can meet the clear light not as strangers, but as its native children returning home. It invites us to prepare for the great journey by understanding that the greatest mystery is not what happens after death, but the nature of the awareness that is reading these words, right here, right now. So look inward, for the portal you seek is not at the end of the road. It is the very consciousness with which you perceive the road itself.